inside the orange, so I magnify it. And I magnify it again, and if I keep on doing it, deep inside, sooner or later, I begin to see molecules. The molecules, I can enlarge them. And if I make them big enough deep inside, I begin to see atoms. Atoms are not the end of the story too, because we have electrons zooming around the nucleus. Deep inside, mostly empty space in the atom, but deep inside, we see the nucleus. So if I grab that and magnify it, I see that the nucleus is itself made of particles, neutrons and protons. And if I grab one of the neutrons and magnify it, I find yet further particles, little tiny quarks inside. Now that is where the conventional ideas stop. String theory comes along and suggests that inside these particles there is something else. So if I take a little quark and I magnify it, conventional idea says there's nothing inside, but string theory says I'll find a little tiny filament, a little filament of energy, a little string-like filament. And just like a string on a violin, I pluck it and it vibrates, creates a little musical note that I can hear. The little strings in string theory, when they vibrate, they don't produce musical notes, they produce the particles themselves. So a quark is nothing but a string vibrating in one pattern. An electron is nothing but a string vibrating in a different pattern. A neutrino, nothing but a string vibrating in a different pattern still. That's the basic idea of string theory.
Okay, let's talk about string theory, I guess, because this is basically man's attempt to explain everything while explaining absolutely nothing. Because again, he wants the theory of everything, he wants to explain the universe, but he does not want the consequence and the weight of the universe. Because string theory is cool. It explains this, it's a vibrating string. But what about this? Where does it explain man? Where does it explain the probability? Because string theory is just probability again. It's just probability trying to explain probability without facing the consequences of being probability, which is at your very core of your existence, you're not man, you're not Brian Greene or whatever. You're not belief, you're not identity, you're not ego, you're not separation, you're not the delay. You are mass times direction of your being and your impact and weight on the field. Because the missing piece of the theory of everything is just simply including the observer and the weight of the observer. Because for all of time, and all of science, and all of physics, humanity wants to pretend like they're outside of the equation, because if they're outside of the equation, they don't have to face the consequences of the equation, and they don't have to be put on the scale and be weighted and be faced with judgment. That is all it is. String theory is entirely built on probability. And it doesn't matter what's within the particle or the thing or whatever, because it doesn't address any consequence of having probability. So all I'll say is this: string theory is cool, but it's just another way to avoid the consequence, avoid the mirror, by wrapping it up in a new, I don't know, just complicated way of saying things without actually saying anything. So I'll just tell you this: your real theory of everything is just including yourself, realizing at the very core of your existence, it's simply just probability, mass times direction. You bend reality or you don't bend reality. Your institution bends reality or it doesn't. Your civilization bends reality or it doesn't. And the direction of it. That's the theory about it. So, very simple. If you can't understand that, then I really don't know what else to say. So, yeah.